Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my EMEA Week 3 power rankings. Going to go through all 12 teams, rank them into these tiers. I think this was an interesting week for EMEA. I think it kind of gave us a lot better of a, like in terms of information on like where these teams are at this week, and can kind of settle these teams into certain spots like it is in pretty much every region, honestly, for me. Like Pacific, not much movement for me. America's not much either. I think Pacific I had very little last week as well. But also at the same time, like a lot of these matchups this week are tough to predict. And this region is very close towards the middle, and even towards the top, honestly. There's a lot of close stuff at the top. I don't think the best teams from EMEA are necessarily better than the best teams from America's Pacific and even China. Like I think T1 and G2 and probably, I mean, maybe EDG, but I don't think they've been playing very well lately. From what I've seen, I haven't really watched to be fair, but I don't think this region is necessarily going to win a Masters event this year. Maybe they can kind of have a team pop off in an event or something, but that'd probably be it. But they definitely have the most like good teams in their region comparatively to maybe Pacific, but I think Pacific has like 3, maybe 4 pretty bad teams at the bottom. So yeah, should be very interesting. The Pickems should be pretty hard. And yeah, if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I just posted my America's player rankings today on Twitter. If you've been watching these videos, I mention it pretty much every time, but I do weekly player rankings on Twitter. You can go check out my EMEA ones from this week. And then I also do want to mention I didn't have a ton of time this week. I wasn't feeling super great. So I did watch some of these games at like 1.5 times speed, maybe skipped out on a map or two here and there. But overall, I did watch all of the games. But if some of the stuff seems a little bit more surface level analysis, that is why I apologize this week. It should be better next week. And if you're new, you can go check out my other videos if you're curious how it normally is. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So I don't really have too many notes this week. I think I'm just going to kind of go in a little bit more blind. But we will start with Koi at the bottom, who, I mean, they are the worst team in EMEA. I think they're better than some of the worst teams in other regions. Like, I think they're more on the level of like Team Secret rather than maybe some of the worst teams in Americas or China. But they are still really bad. They got destroyed on Lotus. Everybody was saying, or I heard quite a few people saying that they played pretty well on Lotus last week against Foot. I think a lot of that was to do with how bad Foot's comp was and how they were playing that map and everything like that. But they come out against Karmine Core and get absolutely slapped around on that map. But they look decent on Icebox, where Karmine Core has looked good already. So I do have more faith that that map will be a good map for them. But not exactly sure. Like, it's still Karmine Core. I don't think that team is super great, but they could show some stuff. I think they do have a chance to upset BBL this week, but I don't think it's like a good chance because like I just don't think this team's read on the meta is very good. I don't think their individuals are even that good. Which honestly, if you had asked me coming into the year, I would have said that this team actually has pretty nice individuals as long as Filu could figure it out. I thought Soulcast was pretty good. He hasn't really worked out. I thought Grabinho was actually really good. He's been playing worse and worse as the season's gone on. And Shados just has not lived up to the expectations of him at the beginning of the year where he was playing a lot of Initiator. Where on Icebox, he was back to Killjoy for some reason and Flya's on Sova, which was kind of weird to me. And with Soulcast also on Teo, like why wouldn't you kind of swap those around a little bit? Maybe put Shados on one of the Initiators, Fly on the other, and then Soulcast on the Sentinel like you have been doing the entire year. Don't know why it changed on that map. It did look pretty good though. I think Flya looked better individually. I don't like a lot of the comps this team is running pretty much. Like the double Sentinel stuff is good on some maps, but not on every map. I don't know why they're playing it everywhere. It's just kind of all bad right now. All right, then moving on to teams that I think are bad, but they're not like terrible like I think Koi is. And that'll start with Apex, who this week had a decent showing against Navi, I think. They are moving down 2 spots because I think I was a little bit more hopeful of them coming off of that kind of close game against Heretics, where they kind of destroyed them on Ascent, had a close map on Split, and then kind of got rolled on Icebox. They did show some nice ideas that week, and I think they did show some nice stuff this week. Like, I mean, specifically Floor, she popped the fuck off. Went 70 and 44 across the 3 maps when the next closest was 43 and 48. So she went plus 26. The next closest was -5. So that's kind of crazy. I do think a lot of the individuals in the rest of the team were kind of not performing at a super high level. But I also don't think Floor was like quite deadlifting the team like maybe a lot of the community was making it out to seem like. She played very, very, very well. Don't get me wrong. That ace on Split was incredible. But I don't think she was like that like tip top tier duelist quite yet. So I still had her a little bit lower in my player rankings than maybe some people would like. I'm about to move her up if she plays really well against Fnatic. Like, they've played Team Heretics where she didn't play very well, and then they played a terrible Navi. Maybe, okay, I have them in this bad, not terrible tier, but a not good Navi team, and played really well. So I'd like to see it against Fnatic. If she does it really well there, she'll probably be in like my top 4 to 5 duelists in EMEA. But as for this game, like, I just don't think the calling's good enough for Governor. I don't know why he's IGLing. Like, if you're going to pick up somebody to IGL so you could make Mulsey a normal, like, just basic bitch flex player, because he is actually really good at that. And I think he played decently well in this game. He was doing a good job setting Floor up. I don't see why he, like, Governor would be the guy that you pick. I fully understand it. If Mulsey's going to IGL, Governor's going to be your initiator player, and he's just going to go own. But he's just not a good caller, and while calling, he has not been a good individual. I thought Haven, he played decently well, but nothing amazing. And yeah, he's been kind of disappointing to me, but I think that a lot of that comes down to the IGL role with him. And yeah, I don't know. Just a team that I think could maybe do something in the second split, but not this split, because they're already down 0-2, and they have kind of a gauntlet in Fnatic and Vitality next, and then they play Giants, who are in this team, but I don't think, or in this tier, not team. They're in this tier, but I don't think I would favor Apex in that matchup. But then we have Navi, the other team on the other side of this, who I thought played fine. Like, I think they played to the level that they've played all year. But Lotus, I mean, I'll be fully honest, I wasn't fully paying attention during this map. But the fact that Koala Noob is playing Chamber and Hero is on Raze on this map is crazy to me. And then they're also playing double smokes with Angel on Fade instead of Xiao. I don't get it. They ended up winning on Haven when they played Xiao on Initiator. I know, shocker. That comp is terrible, by the way, as well. With, like, you're playing double Sentinel with Cypher Vise, which I don't think is that bad inherently. You're playing Sova, you're playing Omen, you're playing Yoru. What are you using to take a lobby? Mini kind of talked about it a lot on the desk for this game. He kind of ripped into them for that. I do very much agree with that. That was not a good composition choice. And then they're still playing more like double dome smokers on Split, which worked against Apex because Apex cannot play Split at all. Like, they were really bad on it last week, and they're really bad on it this week. So I don't know. I feel like this team, I underrate them, but at the same time, like, they're just not good. Like, I mean, Xiao is on this team, Hero's on this team, who I think is pretty decent, and I think Angel's like not a terrible IGL, but this team is just refusing to run good comps. So it's kind of hard to rate them high. Also, like, I don't think Ruxic's been very good. Koala has had some nice weeks back to back, and he's been playing more of the hard duelists like the Yoru, like the Rays, like the actual on-meta duelists, which I think is very good, and they should continue doing that. Then next up, I have Giants, who, I mean, there's really not much to say about this team. Like, you lose week 1 against Vitality, get absolutely smoked. Week 2 against Heretics, you get demolished on Haven. So I didn't watch this game live. I watched Split back. I knew they came back in the second half, and it still felt like the game was over in the first half. That's how badly they were playing. But they did play well. Oh, that is my I made a clip video, and that just finished right in the middle of this. I thought I'd be done. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Um, but like they played well the second half of Split, but I don't think Heretics played very well either. I think they called a very bad attack half on Split, as Boo has done for a while. I'll talk about that in a bit. And then Lotus, they kind of got rolled as well. It didn't really ever feel like they had a chance in that game. Like, obviously, the scoreline was 13-8. It wasn't that bad. Like, Giants won pistol, made it 8-7 or 8-6, and then Heretics win the bonus 9-6, and then the Giants win the next two rounds. So it was 9-8 at one point. So it was within one round, but then Heretics kind of just ran away with it from there. So overall, I said it last week. I just want to see Giants against a team of their caliber, and they're playing Na'Vi this week. I think they have something to they can have something to prove this week. They beat Na'Vi, they beat Apex. I think that would put them in playoffs. Yeah, because that would put them over 0-2 Apex probably, and then that would put them over 1-1 Na'Vi. Like Na'Vi played Giants, Heretics, and Vitality, so I would assume that they would lose to Heretics and Vitality. As long as that happens, I would imagine that puts them in playoffs if they win both of those games. So just, I don't know. I think Giants is maybe a little bit better than some people give them credit for, but also at the same time, they're just not good. All right, now it's teams that I think are good teams, but they're not great at the same time. So that'll start with Carmine Corps at number 8. I think good is definitely pushing it a little bit with this team. Like, they had a good week this week against Koi. I think they did a really good job, like, shutting down some of Koi's, like, mid-round aggression and their reclears on Lotus. Icebox, I think they did a little bit of trolling in terms of, like, their post plants and stuff on the attack side. I think that side was especially bad from them. But their defense, I think, did look pretty good. Like, they lost pistol bonus, but otherwise they only lost 2 rounds on the defense half of Icebox. So I think if they shore up some of their post plants on their attack side, I think they should be a lot better on Icebox. And yeah, Lotus did look good. I still don't think this comp is very good, though. Like, I think if you played it against any other team in EMEA, they would probably be able to have a closer game against them. But I do think overall their macro and just like the way they played the game, not really considering their comps that much, I thought was pretty good. So they're getting better. I still think this team is disappointing considering our like preseason expectations for them. But at the same time, I don't know. They're getting better. They should be able to make playoffs, I would assume. Like, yeah. I mean, they'll be like right in it. I think I would assume in their group it would be Foot, Liquid, Gentlemates, and then either them or BBL. And they did lose to BBL, so that does hurt their chances. So they'd probably need to win this week against Gentlemates to have a good shot. So that'll be their litmus test, I think. Then I have BBL. It is kind of hard to see their logo, but I didn't really know what else to put in the background here, so we'll just have to make do with that. But I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I watched the first few maps. Fracture was disappointing to me. Their Astra on that map is still not good. They still need to change that. I don't know why they have been playing that there. Then on Haven, they looked really good. I think they they played a lot better than they have been. Like, a lot of their stuff, it just feels like they're kind of just out of sync with each other. And then Ascent was horrifically bad. I really don't have much to say other than that. It was just, they played triple initiator and decided to not use their util, which is definitely interesting. So, I don't know. Not a good week for BBL, but overall, I'm not like giving up on them because I still think their individuals are better than every team below them. But at the same time, like, they're not playing together well at all. But again, neither are the teams below them. So that's just kind of how it works. Then in this last slot, I do have Gentlemates. They did lose to Foot this week. So I didn't feel like I could bump them up that much. But they did play really well in this game. Like, Lotus was bad. Don't get me wrong. I didn't really like that. But Icebox, I think they played pretty well. Foot did play a bad comp. Oh wait, no, they played the bad comp, and they beat Foot because Foot was trolling. I forgot about that. I thought the maps were the other way around when I was remembering. Okay, which I mean, they made the comp look better than it actually is. The like Waylay triple or double initiator. Oh no, it was Foot playing the triple initiator. Foot was trolling with the comp. That's what it was. Okay. Good lord. The mates comp looks more similar to the Paper X comp, like on the actual screen. But yes, Foot was doing the trolling with their comp on Icebox. Gentlemates was able to beat them kind of because of that. So I'm not going to give them a ton of credit for that Icebox win, but they did play really well on Fracture, keep it close there. They did make a really nice comeback on the defensive side. Overall, I think this team's looked good in this stage so far. I don't know how they're going to fare against like the tip-top teams because they've played Liquid, they've played Foot, who are both good teams, but I don't think Foot is like the best of the best this region has. And they didn't manage to beat Foot either, so they will have Karmine Core, BBL, and Koi. I would favor them in all of those games. But if they do slip up once or twice, then that will put kind of a damper on their season. All right, and then now on to teams that I think are like in that top 3 range, like teams that could realistically contend for Masters Toronto. And that'll start with Liquid, who are moving down a slot, but in my head, I am raising them up. I do think they played better this week. Still not perfect. They're still trying to figure out like what they want to do on Haven because it was one of their better maps, but they played it a ton at kickoff and at Bangkok. So I assume they think they have to change up their comps. That is pretty reasonable to me. Wait, I think they did play it with the same comp last week against Gentlemates and got smoked. Or they didn't get smoked, but they did lose. Yeah, okay. So they felt like they needed to change it after that loss. Again, pretty reasonable. They changed up the comp. This comp is horrible. They're playing the Neon ISO version of the Yoru ISO comp, which I think is just blatantly worse. Like, I don't know why Camo just doesn't play Yoru. Like, all these teams tried Yoru at the beginning of the year. It was good, and then they decided, actually, we don't want to play it because the Yoru player's stats end up being bad. And it's just like, whatever, bro. So, I don't know. That map was bad from them. They need to change that to Yoru. And then also they played Astra instead of Omen, which I don't know. I don't know what difference that really makes, but it just doesn't feel right to me. So I don't know. And Patty Tech on Sova also just not ideal. But Nat's playing really well in this game outside of Haven, I think. His calling is a little bit worse than it was at the beginning of the year, but it's still good. And then I do think Kiko kind of had a bit of a resurgence after a bad week, I'd say last week for him. So overall, going up in my head, but in the power rankings, they're going down because another team did pass them up. Now, that won't be Heretics. I will say that they are slightly going up in my mind, but that split is really bad. I mean, Haven was really good, as I talked about earlier in that Giants game. Giants didn't look good, but Heretics did look really good. I still think Woot can be better on ISO, but he did top frag that Haven game, so it's still good. Now, that split game, he wasn't good on ISO. I don't like this comp on split really at all. I would prefer Woot play like pretty much anything else other than the ISO in this comp. Like, why doesn't he play Raze, Miniboo plays Yoru, and they just play the T1 comp? That would make sense to me. But they just kind of forgot how to play attack side on split. Boo called a terrible half in that game. It looked like, I mean, I said it in the Giants game. I was watching this VOD back after I knew the results. Like, I knew that it was a 10-0 comeback. But at 10-0, I'm like, there's no way Giants are coming back into this still. Like, I still didn't realize. I'm just like, oh, yeah, they're getting rolled, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then they came back. I wasn't, like, shocked that they came back. I saw them win a few rounds, and I'm like, oh, shit, yeah. Yeah, they do come back in this game. That's kind of crazy. But Heretics did play really well on Lotus after that, so I do think that is a positive. If they can get their split attack side better, I think that'll be good. But also, in the past, like, I think it was stage 1 last year when they played against, who was it? Was it BBL on split? Yeah, I think it was BBL on split. And Boo just had no idea what he was doing on the attack side again. So this has been a consistent issue for Boo on Split. You'd like to see that get fixed up. I mean, they didn't really play much of the attack side. Like, I'm just looking through their old Split performances, but they didn't really play much of the attack side against Gen G on Split in the final, but they did not win any rounds there. But like, just yeah, losing on Split, not ideal. I mean, did they lose to Koi on Split? No. I'm just looking at all these random games against bad teams where they were like 2-1 games. They did lose the Giants on Split last year as well. So obviously not an ideal map. I would hope that they start trying to get away from Split, but if they can't ban it, then like what they banned in the series? They banned Pearl. I mean, they haven't played it all year, so I don't know. I would hope that they try Pearl, ban Split, do something like that, take a risk there. But overall, still in a good spot. The individuals are looking better. I would still think this team has a good hope to make Toronto. All right, now these top 3 teams that I think should be the 3 teams making Masters, but there is definitely a chance for upset potential for all 3 of these teams. And we'll start with Foot, who I think played decently well this week. Obviously, that Icebox comp that I talked about earlier, I don't like it. I think they just need to... I honestly think they can play the same comp with Yedije on Killjoy, and that would be perfectly fine. And like they almost won with this bad comp as well. So that is a thing to note. Their defense side on Fracture was really good. I think Zeus was insane in that game. And then Lotus, I mean, Zeus kind of struggled, but they ended up owning because Cracks destroyed them, which was a good thing. I'm still not super high on Cracks. I still do think he limits the upside of this team by really kind of just being a KO one trick, but he can also play some like Fade and Gecko at a pretty high level. I don't love the rest of his agent pool at all, but he's a fine player, I guess. It is good that he's playing better, though, even against better competition. Like against Koi, he was horrible. But against Gentlemates, I thought he played overall in the series pretty well. I don't really have much to say about Foot, though. Like, they are just Foot. They play some weird comps here and there, but overall, they are just a solid team that should be able to beat every team below them. Like, I would expect them to go 5-0 in this group, but they do have a chance of not making Toronto just because maybe a team pops off during playoffs and is over, like, Foot's ceiling. Then I have Fnatic at number 2, who had a great week. Like, I mean, you can't talk about Fnatic in this state or in that game against Vitality without talking about how well Boaster played. He top fragged the series for them, 7-4 or FKD, 54-40. Like he was insane. He had that insane 1v3 on Haven to kind of get them back in that map. I mean, he called an amazing Lotus map as well. And yeah, I think overall he was just the shining thing on this team, like the big bright spot for this team. I also think Kayak played amazingly. Like I thought he was sick, which hasn't always been the case this season. Like, yeah, he popped off like that back half fracture against Na'Vi, but other than that, he didn't really play that well. He played really well. I think it was against Na'Vi at kickoff. Other than that, I thought he was fine. I guess he played well against Gentlemates. I forgot about that. And then yeah, other than that, like he hasn't fully lived up to like the best duelist prospect in EMEA quite yet until this game where he completely popped off, as I said. Crashy's still playing well. I don't think he was like as elite as he was last week, but still playing very well. Chronicle still playing well. But Alphair was very like, I don't know, like disappointing in this game, I guess. Like he had that one whiff on Split and it felt like he just never really mentally recovered. He didn't really have a chance to do much on Lotus, to be fair, but Haven was pretty bad. He was losing a lot of ISO ults and just in general not putting himself in the best positions or hitting all the shots that he usually hits. But then Vitality we'll talk about on the other side. I will say, I mean, a lot of the conversation around this team was Safe's IGLing being really bad, which I just don't agree with. Like, it wasn't good by any means. He definitely got completely outcalled by Boaster, but Boaster called one of the best games I've seen of him ever. So I don't really know how you're gonna compete with that if you're safe. Um, but he was still like I do still think the calling in this team is kind of an issue, and it could potentially limit their ceiling. But they still do have 5 unbelievable players. I will say though, Durka did get shut down in this game. He was really bad on split, kept getting caught out over and over again while TPing in. And I think a lot of that has to do with like Boaster and his read on what Durka wanted to do. Also, Haven was pretty bad from him. I thought Durka was fine on Lotus though. Um, but I think the rest of the individuals on Vitality still played well. I still think that they should be the #1 team in EMEA until maybe they like lose another game. Like this week against Heretics, they could fall down. Like if that is a complete glue game, I think Fnatic could be the #1 team in the EMEA. But yeah, with that, that'll be my power rankings, and we will move on to the Pickems now. All right, now onto my Pickems. Now, last week for me was one of my worst weeks for Pickems in any region. I think it was actually my worst week. I think I've gone like 4 out of 5 pretty much every time. But I did take the BBL win over Liquid. I thought Liquid could kind of continue to spiral a little bit. They did not. BBL ended up getting it, or BBL ended up getting destroyed on that last map. Apex, I took their upset over Navi. Did not get that correct. And then I did not pick Fnatic to beat Vitality, which I think most people would not have. But Koi BBL, I think a lot of these games this week are pretty close, but this one, I think there is upset potential because of how bad BBL's been playing, like team wise. Like their individuals are still good, and that's why I think they'll win this game over Koi, because I don't think Koi have been playing very coherent Valorant either. So I just take the individuals in this matchup, which I favor BBL. Then Giants, Navi. I think Giants are playing much more coherent Valorant and have been playing. I mean, they've just played the 2 best teams in their group, I believe, in Vitality and Heretics. Oh, and they need to play Fnatic still. Okay, Fnatic, not counting Fnatic, they played the other 2 best teams in that group. Did lose both games, but showed some nice stuff here and there on certain maps. So I think they definitely could be able to beat Navi here, and I would favor them pretty heavily in this game. Then Team Liquid versus Foot. I'm just going to pick Foot because I think that's the safe option. Yeah, Liquid could come out looking a lot better than they have been. Like they improved week to week, and I think the more tape that they have on teams, the better. If they end up getting like a Lotus in this series, I think they could very much like counter strat Foot's Lotus comp. But at the same time, I just think Foot's the better team. I'm going to take the shooters in this game because they are that good. I don't know. I also just think the duelist matchup is very, very one-sided towards Foot. Then Vitality Heretics. I'm also just going to take the safe option in this game. I'm going to take Heretics. I don't have a strong opinion, or not Heretics. Wow, I was going to take Vitality. I think I clicked Heretics instead of Vitality. But I don't really have a strong opinion on this game. I think I would just favor Vitality's individuals over Heretics individuals because the calling on both teams isn't that great. Like, if you're taking Boo versus Safe, it's really like a 50-50. I really don't care. Boo is more of a hard IGL than Safe is. But at the same time, it's just, I don't know. I don't really care that much between those two. But I do care about the individuals for Vitality over the individuals for Heretics, who I think, despite playing better recently for Heretics, I still think their individuals have been a little bit disappointing outside of Rienz and Miniboo. I do think Woot and Benji have been disappointing in my opinion. And I would definitely take less and Seavoff. Honestly, Seavoff with the form that Seavoff is in, I would take him over Woot as well. So yeah, that's why I'm going to take Vitality. Then Fnatic over Apex. I don't really need to explain that. Fnatic is the better team. And then I'm going to take Gentlemates over Carmine Core, even though I do think that is a definite upset potential game. Because I do think Carmine Core has been getting better throughout the split. But also, Gentlemates has been better throughout the split as well. So as long as Gentlemates doesn't get too much in their heads about losing that game against Foot, I think they should be able to beat Carmine Core here. So without further ado, that's the wrong thing that I say. I say that at the beginning. And with that, that'll be my video for EMEA. Let me know what you guys think of the Pickems and the power rankings in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.